friends, welcome to Law and GK. So friends, on this channel we discuss the contents of law and previous year papers of judicial services and other legal exams. And if you have seen my previous videos, I have already discussed the Haryana, Uttarakhand, Rajasthan, and at currently we are doing the series of Delhi Judiciary, and Delhi Judiciary का paper अब just आने ही वाला है. And in this sequence, what we have done, we have already discussed all the papers from 2010 to 2019. Now what we are doing, actually we are just giving you the all the questions which have come from 2010 to 2019 in the exam of DJS for every particular subject. And in today's video we are going to discuss the all the questions of CPC, Civil Procedure Code, which have come in examination of DJS from 2010 to 2019. सो फ्रेंड्स, इफ़ यू आर न्यू ऑन दिस चैनल, आई वुड लाइक टू रिकमेंड कि आप फटाफट से इस चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर लीजिए एंड सब्सक्राइब करते टाइम बेल आइकन को ज़रूर प्रेस कीजिएगा, बिकॉज ऐसी वीडियोस और भी आने वाली है. आई एम जस्ट अपलोडिंग दी ऑल दी वीडियोज़ ऑफ ऑल डिफरेंट सब्जेक्ट्स ऑफ DJS. सो फ्रेंड्स, चलिए करते हैं अब ऑल क्वेश्चन ऑफ CPC, सिविल प्रोसीजर कोड.
Come to question number 101. Which of the following is not an essential condition for the applicability of the rule of sub judice? Rule of sub judice is mentioned where? It is mentioned under section 10 of CPC. Now come to the options. Option A says that the matter in issue in the subsequent suit must be directly and substantially in issue in the previous suit. Option B, both the suits must be between the same parties or their representatives. Option C is such parties must be litigating under the same title in both the suits. And option D is the subject matter and the cause of action should be the same in both the suits. The right answer should be option D. Now come to question number 102. A alleging that he is the adopted son of X sues B to recover certain property granted to him by X under a deed and forming part of X's estate. The court finds that A is not the adopted son of X, but he is entitled to the property under the deed and a decree is passed for A. The finding that A is not the adopted son of X will be what? It will operate as res judicata in a subsequent suit between A and B. Option B will be the correct answer. And res judicata is mentioned where? It is mentioned under section 11 CPC. Now come to question number 103. In which of the following cases the doctrine of constructive res judicata is not applicable? Doctrine of constructive res judicata is mentioned where? It is mentioned under explanation 4 of section 11, which is res judicata of CPC, constructive res judicata. If you see the option, come to option number B, which says that A sues B for the possession of certain property, alleging that it has come to his share on partition of the joint family property. B's contention that the partition has not taken place is upheld and the suit is dismissed. A subsequent suit was filed by A and against B for partition of joint family property. So the right answer is option number B only. Come to question number 104. You have to mark the incorrect statement. The court must be competent to try the suit at the time of filing of the suit. Subsequent change in value doesn't affect the jurisdiction, correct? It is the plaintiff's valuation in the plaint that determines the jurisdiction of the court and not the amount for which ultimately the decree may be passed by the court. If the pecuniary jurisdiction of the court is rupees 10,000 and the plaintiff files a suit for accounts and finally the court finds on the taking the account of rupees 15,000 are due, the court is not deprived of its jurisdiction to pass a decree for that amount. Now option D, if the plaintiff undervalues or overvalues the claim for the purpose of choosing the forum, it is not the duty of the court to return it to be filed in the proper suit. Actually, option D is the incorrect statement and return of plaint is mentioned where? Under order 7 rule 10, return. And it should be that it is not the duty. It is mentioned that it is not the duty. The correct statement should be that it is the duty of the court to return the plaint. So option D is the incorrect statement. Come to question number 105. X is living in Pune and Y, his brother, in Mumbai. X wants to file a suit for partition of their joint property situated in Delhi and Bangalore. The suit may be instituted in Delhi only. It may be instituted in Bangalore only. It may be instituted either in Delhi or in Bangalore or none of the above. The right answer is option number C. And it is which section? Section 17 of CPC. Question number 106. Mark the incorrect statement. A suit for accounts of dissolved partnership may be instituted either where the contract of partnership was entered into or where the business of partnership was carried on. Option B. A suit for dissolution of partnership carried on in a foreign country is maintainable in India if the parties are resident there. Option C. The proper forum in the case an ordinary agent is the place where the contract of agency was made or the place where accounts are to be rendered and payment is to be made by the agent, or option 4, none of the above. This is basically conceptual question, and this question is related to order 30, and here the incorrect statement is option number B. Now come to question number 107. When an objection as to non-joinder or misjoinder of the parties is upheld by the court may deal with the matter in controversy as regards the rights and interests of the party actually before it. The court should dismiss the suit. The court may allow the amendment of the plaint, namely striking out the codes. The correct answer should be first and third. Right answer is option number D. And this is conceptual question, and it is related to non-joinder misjoinder order 1 of CPC. Now come to question number 108. Mark the incorrect statement in context of a representative suit. If a person suing or defending does not proceed with due diligence, the court can substitute in his place any person having the same interest in the suit. Option B is the suit can be withdrawn, compromised, or abandoned by the plaintiff after notice to all the persons interested. Option C, any decree passed in such a suit is binding on all the person interested. And option D is res judicata is not applicable to such a suit. So option A is basically from order 1, rule 8, subrule 5. And option B is order 1, rule 8, subrule 4. And option C is order 1, rule 8, subrule 6. So the right answer is option D. Res judicata is not applicable to such a suit. This is the incorrect statement. Come to question number 109. In which of the following cases amendment of pleadings could be allowed? Mentioned where? Under order 6, rule 17. Could be allowed to introduce a new or inconsistent cause of action, to take away a right of the defendant which has accrued to him by lapse of time, for granting relief on the basis of different approaches to the same facts, or option 4, amendment taking note of subsequent events. The right answer here is option number D, both 3 and 4. Come to question number 110. Where a serving officer delivers or tenders a copy of summons to the defendant personally or to his agent, he must require such person to sign an acknowledgement of service to be endorsed on the original summons. Then the copy of the summons will be delivered to the defendant. The original summons with the defendant's signature thereon will be returned to the court, both A and B. And option D is the original summons with the defendant's signature thereon will be returned to the plaintiff. This is basically a conceptual question which is related to order 5, and option C will be the correct answer here. The statement given in the question is basically related to order 5, rule 16. And the options, both the options, option A and B, both are related to rule 18 of order 5. Right answer is option number C, both A and B. Now come to question number 111. No one can be ordered to attend in person to give attendance in a civil suit unless he resides within the local limits of the court's ordinary original jurisdiction, resides outside the local limits of the court's ordinary original jurisdiction, but at a place less than 100 kilometers distance from the courthouse. Option C, both A and B. And option D, none of the above. It is option C, both A and B. And it is which order? Order 16, rule 19 of CPC. Come to question number 112. Mark the incorrect proposition. Set off is a statutory defense to the plaintiff's action, whereas a counterclaim is a cross action. Where is set off and counterclaim are mentioned? It is order 8. Next option is option 2 says that set off and counterclaim arises out of the same transaction. Next, the set off should not be barred on the date of the suit, while counterclaim should not be barred on the date of filing of the written statement. Claim for the set off cannot exceed plaintiff's claim, whereas counterclaim can exceed the plaintiff's claim. And fifth is both set of and counterclaim cannot exceed the pecuniary jurisdiction of the court. So this is a conceptual question, and the whole question is related to Rule 6 and 6A of Order 8. Here the right answer will be option number B only. Come to question 113. Mark the correct statement. The questions which are put only to test the credibility of a person will not be allowed as interrogatories, although they may be asked in cross-examination. Interrogatories can be administered only to a party to a suit and not to a witness, whereas cross-examination can be of any person, parties and witness alike. A party filing affidavit in reply to interrogatories can neither cross-examine nor adduce evidence to contradict it, as it is a conclusive proof. And option D is all of the above. This is a conceptual question related to Order 11, and here all the statements are correct, so right answer will be option number D, all of the above. Next is question number 114. A suit may be dismissed under Order 9 of CPC where the summons is not served upon the defendant in consequence of the plaintiff's failure to pay costs for service of summons, where neither the plaintiff nor the defendant appears, where the plaintiff after summons returned unserved fails for 7 days to apply for fresh summons, and where on the date fixed for hearing in a suit only defendant appears and he does not admit the plaintiff's claim. First statement is from Rule 2, Order 9, Rule 2. And option 2 is basically Rule 3 of Order 9. Statement third is Rule 5 of Order 9. And fourth one is Rule 8 from Order 9. So all the statements are correct. Right answer will be all of the above. Now come to question number 115. In a suit for recovery instituted by A against B, despite the summons of a suit having been duly served upon B, he did not appear on the date fixed in the summons. On 1/3/1993, the court consequently on 1/3/93 passed an ex parte order against B and listed the case for 3/4/93 for ex parte evidence of A. Here, B can participate in further proceedings of the case. B can seek setting aside of ex parte order if he is able to show good cause for his non-appearance, and both A and B are correct. It is basically what? Order 9, Rule 13, and both A and B are correct statements. Option C is the correct answer. Come to question number 116. Mark the incorrect statement in relation to Order 23 of CPC. At any time after the institution of suit, the plaintiff may withdraw his suit or abandon part of his claim. If the plaintiff withdraws from a suit without court's permission, he is precluded from instituting a fresh suit against the same defendant in respect of the same subject matter. And statement C is that if the court is satisfied that a suit failed by reason of some formal defect or there are other sufficient grounds, it may allow the withdrawal from the suit. And option D is where there are several plaintiffs, the court can allow one of them to withdraw even if the other co-plaintiff do not consent to such withdrawal. Option D is the correct answer, and it is related to Order 23, Rule 1. Question number 117. Compensatory costs can be imposed if the claim or defense is false or vexatious and subsequently disallowed or withdrawn. If the objection to the false or vexatious claim or defense has been taken by the party at the earliest opportunity. Option C, both are correct, and D, both are incorrect. It is what? It is option number C, both are correct statement, and mentioned where? Section 35A of CPC. Now come to question number 118, where any party dies after conclusion and before pronouncing of the judgment, the suit shall not abate if the cause of action survives. It will be deemed that the judgment has been pronounced after the death of the party. Right answer is option number B, and it is which order? Order 22, Rule 6 of CPC. Question 119. A relief of injunction may be refused on the ground of laches or acquiescence. Applicant has not come with clean hands. where monetary compensation is adequate relief, or all of the above? It is all of the above. Order 39 of CPC, injunctions. Question 120, where it appears to the court that the elements of an acceptable settlement exist, the court may refer it to arbitration, conciliation, mediation, judicial settlement, including that through lok adalat, both A and B, or none of the above. It is both A and B, and it is mentioned where? Under section 89 of CPC.
Next is 62. A decision or finding given by a court or tribunal without jurisdiction cannot operate as res judicata. क्या होना चाहिए? Shall be by competent court. Competent court ही नहीं है तो why it will be operate as res judicata? And where it is mentioned? Section 11 of CPC. Next is 63. The maximum pecuniary jurisdiction of the Court of Civil Judge in Delhi is rupees 3 lakhs. Files plaint in the Court of Civil Judge for recovery of rupees 3 lakh together with interest of 18% per annum from date of institution of suit till realization. क्या होगा? देखिए, जो जुडिक्शन 3 लाख से ऊपर चला गया, 3 लाख प्लस 18% इंटरेस्ट, तो क्या होगा? क्या जज जो है उसको ट्राई कर सकता है? नहीं कर सकता. जज इज एम्पावर्ड टू ट्राई एंड डिसाइड द सूट. 3 इज द आंसर and this is a conceptual question. Next is 64. A suit for partition of property situated in different cities can be instituted in a city where any of the property is situated. 2 is the answer. Different cities में है और जहाँ पर भी है वहाँ सूट फाइल कर लीजिए. And this is mentioned in section 17 of CPC. Next is 65. Which of the following statement is incorrect? Temporary injunction may be granted only at time of institution of suit. No. Next option है temporary injunction may be granted at any stage of suit. Yes, this is correct. Are regulated by CPC. Yes, this is correct. Are form of preventive relief. This is correct. So incorrect कौन सी है? Statement first. So 1 is the answer. Next is 66. As per CPC, as applicable to Delhi, a suit for specific performance of contract of sale of immovable property can be filed. कहाँ फाइल करेंगे? Only where the property is situated. दिल्ली के लिए थोड़ी, सबके लिए है वो, तो बस ये कंफ्यूज करने के लिए लिख दिया गया. तो सेक्शन 16 CPC mentions about the territorial jurisdiction. Next is 67. An expired decree can be set aside. कहाँ होती है? Order 9, Rule 13. 3 is the answer. Next is 68. A garnishee order is an order prohibiting the judgment debtor for making any payment to judgment debtor. Alright. Direction तो कोर्ट से आएगी, तो 1 is the answer. And where it is mentioned? It is mentioned in order 21 rule 46A. तो कहता है कि नोटिस देंगे गार्निशी को, एंड 46 में क्या बोलेंगे उसको? ऑर्डर टू गार्निशी फॉर पेमेंट. ठीक है, ऑप्शन 2 में लिखा हुआ ना कि डायरेक्टिंग द डिक्री होल्डर टू टेक द पेमेंट. टेक नहीं है यहाँ पर, प्रोविजन में लिखा हुआ है टू पे इन दी कोर्ट. तो कोर्ट में अगर पे करेगा दैट वुड बी अ डायरेक्शन विच वुड बी करेक्ट. सो यहाँ पर सेकंड इज रॉन्ग. नेक्स्ट इज 69. ए सूट में बी डिफीटेड ड्यू टू नॉन जेंडर ऑफ नेसेसरी पार्टी. नेसेसरी पार्टी नहीं आई तो फिर सूट तो डिफीट हो ही जाएगा. 3 इज द आंसर.
Question number 131. Consider the following statements. A decree means and includes formal expression of adjudication which, so far as regards the court expressing it conclusively, determines the rights of the party with regard to all or any of the matters in controversy in the suit. Any adjudication from which appeal lies as an appeal from the order. Option 3. Any order of dismissal of suit for default. Option 4. Rejection of plaint. Which of the statements given above are correct? It is option number 3. This statement as well as this statement. Decree is mentioned where? Under section 2, subsection 2 of CPC. Come to question number 132. Which is the correct essential conditions for the applicability of the rule of sub judice? Which section? Section 10 of CPC. The matter in issue in a subsequent suit must be directly and substantially in issue in the previous suit. The parties must be litigating under the same title in both the suits. Option 3, both and 1 and 2, and option 4, neither 1 and 2. The right answer is what? Option 3, both 1 and 2. Because both are essential requisites for stay of suit on the principle of res sub judice. Section 10 of CPC. Come to question number 133. The expression former suit in the context of a rule of res judicata. Res judicata is in which section? Section 11 of CPC. Means a suit which has been instituted prior to the suit in question, decided prior to the suit in question. Both 1 and 2 are neither 1 nor 2. It is option number 2, decided prior to the suit in question. And this one is explanation 1 of section 11 of CPC. Come to question number 134. Which of the following statements is true? A suit for recovery of immovable property shall be instituted in the court in whose jurisdiction the property is situated. A suit for partition of immovable property shall be instituted in the court in whose jurisdiction the defendant resides or works for gain. Option 3, both 1 and 2, or option 4, neither 1 nor 2. It is basically option 1. And it is mentioned where? Under section 16(1) of CPC, which says that suit for recovery of immovable property shall be instituted in the same court in which the jurisdiction of the property lies. Come to question number 135. Consider the following statements. A defendant may set up by way of a counterclaim against the claim of the plaintiff any right or claim in respect of the cause of action accruing to him. Option 2. The counterclaim may be submitted by the defendant even after he has delivered his defense. Option 3. The counterclaim shall not exceed the pecuniary jurisdiction of the court. Which of the statements given above are correct? So, the first and the third statement is correct and not the second one. So, the right answer is option number 2. And counterclaim etc. are given in order 8, rule 6A of CPC, which makes it very clear that counterclaim may be set up before the defendant has delivered his defense. Therefore, option 2 is wrong and the other two statements are correct. Come to question number 136. Which of the following statements is incorrect? A representative suit may be instituted by one or more persons for the benefit of all interested persons with the permission of the court. Notice of the institution of a representative suit must be given by a public advertisement at the plaintiff's expense to all the interested persons where by reason of their number personal service is not reasonably practicable. Option 3. Any person for whose benefit a representative suit has been instituted may apply to join as a party thereto. Option 4. The person who instituted the suit or persons who joined as party have unrestricted right to compromise with the defendant. Incorrect statement is the fourth one. And if you see the order 23 of CPC, the right to compromise with the defendant is not unrestricted right. So fourth is the incorrect statement. Come to question 137. Where the defendant is absent at the time of the service of summons is sought to be effected on him at his residence, there being no likelihood of his availability within reasonable time and in absence of an empowered agent, the service may be made on any adult male member of his family, any adult female member of his family, a servant engaged by the defendant at his residence. Or option 4, both 1 and 2. It is option 4, both 1 and 2. किसी भी मेल एडल्ट मेंबर को या फिर फीमेल एडल्ट मेंबर को. एंड इट इज मेंशन्ड वेयर अंडर ऑर्डर 5 रूल 15 ऑफ CPC. Order requires that the person should be adult member of the family, and it is made very clear in that order that the adult member can be a male or female. And moreover, servant, the explanation to order 5 rule 15 makes it very clear that a servant is not a member of the family. So option 3 is incorrect. Right answer is option number 4, both 1 and 2. Come to question number 138. A suit may be dismissed where summons are not served on the defendant in consequence of the failure of the plaintiff to take proper steps like filing of the court fee, postal charges and requisite number of copies of the plaint. Option 2, neither party appears when the suit is called on for a hearing. Option 3, plaintiff after summons to the defendant has returned unserved fails to apply for fresh summons for 7 days. Or option 4, all of the above. It is option 4, all of the above. See the order 9, rule 3, rule 2 and rule 5. So in all these cases a suit may be dismissed. Come to question number 139. Consider the following statements. Admission for forming the basis of the judgment may be secured from the opposite party to a civil suit by way of notice. Option 1, of admission of the case. Option 2, to admit documents. Option 3, to admit facts. Which of the statements given above are correct? The right answer here is option number 2. All of these statements are correct. And these are all, see the order 12, rule 1, 2, 4 and 6 of CPC. These all are basically provisions of these rules. So the right answer is option number 2. Come to question number 140. When a civil suit reaches the stage of hearing and examination of witnesses, the plaintiff has a right to begin. If the defendant admits the facts alleged by the plaintiff and contends that on the same additional facts alleged by the defendant, the plaintiff is not entitled to any relief, the defendant has the right to begin. Option 3, both 1 and 2. Option 4, neither 1 nor 2. It is both 1 and 2. And it is mentioned where? Under Order 18, Rule 1 of CPC. Question 141. Which of the following statements is incorrect? Where issues of both law and of fact arise, and if the court is of the opinion that the case may be disposed of on an issue relating to jurisdiction, it may postpone the settlement of other issues until after the issue of jurisdiction has been determined. Where a suit may be disposed of on preliminary issue, the court need not pronounce judgment on other issues settled in the case. Option 3, the preliminary issue relates to the bar to the suit created and law for the time being in force. Or option 4, none of these. Well, it is option number 2, where a suit may be disposed of on preliminary issue, the court need not pronounce judgment on the issue settled in the case. It is Order 14, Rule 2 of CPC, which shows that in a situation the court must postpone the settlement of other issues. The issue to be treated as a preliminary may relate to jurisdiction or ban under the law. If the issues have been settled as per Order 14, Rule 2, the court is obliged to pronounce the judgments on all the issues. Come to question 142. Which of the following statement is correct statement? The court which passed the decree may transfer it to another competent court if the judgment debtor carries on the business within the jurisdiction of the later court. If the judgment debtor has no property within the jurisdiction of the former court sufficient to satisfy the decree, but has property within the jurisdiction of the later court. Option 3, decree directs the sale of immovable property situated outside the local jurisdiction of the former court, or all of the above. It is option number 4, all of these. And it is mentioned where? Section 39 of CPC. Question 143. A money decree may be executed by attachment and sale of any property of judgment debtor, arrest and detention in prison of the judgment debtor for indefinite period, both 1 and 2, or neither 1 nor 2. It is option number 1, attachment and sale of any property of the judgment debtor, and it is mentioned where? Section 51B of CPC, which permits execution of money decree by attachment and sale of property of the judgment debtor. And if you see section 51C, then it permits the execution even by arrest and detention in prison of the judgment debtor, but not for period exceeding the 1, which is specified in section 58 of CPC, but not for indefinite period. Okay. Come to question number 144. Which of the following statements is correct? No suit not involving urgent or immediate relief may be instituted against the central government except after serving a notice of 2 months. Option 2, a decree against the Union of India may not be executed unless it remains unsatisfied for a period of 3 months. Option 3, both 1 and 2 are correct, or option 4, both 1 and 2 are incorrect. The right answer is option 3, both 1 and 2 are correct. This is mentioned in section 80 and this is mentioned in section 82. Come to question 145. Which of the following statement is correct? Where on the death of a defendant the right to sue survivors against the other surviving defendant alone, the case may proceed against the surviving defendant. Where on the death of a defendant the right to sue does not survive against the other surviving defendant alone, the case shall abate against the deceased defendant if no application is made within the time limit by the law for legal representative of the deceased defendant to be made a party. Option 3, there shall be no abatement by reason of death of either party between the conclusion of the hearing and pronouncing of the judgment, or all of the above. It is option number 4, all of these. All these are direct provisions of Order 22, Rule 2, 4 and 6. So all these statements are correct. Come to question number 146. In the context of a withdrawal of a suit, which is the correct statement? If the court is satisfied that a suit must fail by reason of some formal defect, the plaintiff may be allowed to withdraw the suit with liberty to institute a fresh suit in respect of the same subject matter. Option 2, if the plaintiff withdraws from a suit without permission of the court, he may bring fresh suit in respect of the same subject matter. Option 3, if there are more than one plaintiff, one of them may withdraw the suit without the consent of other plaintiff, or option 4, all of these. The right answer is option number 1, and it is mentioned where? Under order 23, rule 1, sub rule 3. Now come to question number 147, which is the correct statement in context of summary procedure for civil suits. First option, may be invoked for recovery of a liquidated damage in money payable by the defendant arising out of written contract. Option 2, may be applied suo motu by a civil court in its discretion in the interest of the expeditious adjudication. Option 3, requires the defendant to seek leave to defend, which if granted must be unconditional. Or option 4, all these statements are not correct. Right answer is option number 1. And which order? Order 37, rule 1, sub rule 2b of CPC. It directly covers this option. Come to question number 148. In case of breach of any of the terms on which temporary injunction was granted, the court may order the person in breach to be detained in civil prison for indefinite period, but not after breach has ceased. Option 2, attachment of the property of the person in breach, and if the breach continues for more than 1 year, sell the attached property and award the entire sale proceeds to the injured party as compensation. Option 3, both 1 and 2 are incorrect, or option 4, both are correct. The right answer is option number 3, both are incorrect. If you see order 39, rule 2a of CPC, which it clearly provides that in such a situation, detention in civil prison cannot exceed 3 months and so cannot be for indefinite period and further. Come to question number 149. The leave may be granted by the civil court to deliver interrogatories. Option 1, only to the defendants since the plaintiff is the master of the suit. Option 2, even if they relate to matters not in the question in the suit. Option 3, notwithstanding the objection taken by the opposite party. Or option 4, if it considers the same necessary for disposing of the case fairly. Well, this is order 11, rule 1 and 2, and the right answer here is if it considers the same necessary for disposing of the case fairly. Come to question number 150. A decree becomes final when it conclusively determined the right of the parties. Option 2, no appeal has been preferred against the decree. Option 3, both 1 and 2. Or option 4, neither 1 nor 2. Well, it is option number 3, both 1 and 2. And where is decree defined? It is under section 2, subsection 2 of CPC decree. Question number 23, section 10 of CPC, which is sub judice. Section 10 is stay of suit, which we commonly call res sub judice, can come into operation when? Before filing of the written statement in subsequent suit, before settlement of issues in subsequent suit, after settlement of issues in subsequent suit, or all of the above. The right answer is all of the above in all of these cases. Now come to question number 24. A suit filed in a representative capacity can be withdrawn, compromised and abandoned, etc. by the plaintiff without notice to all the persons interested, after notice to all the persons interested, both 1 and 2, or either 1 or 2. Mentioned in order 23, rule 1(5), it say that suit filed in representative capacity under order 1, rule 8 cannot be withdrawn without consent of the other plaintiff. Therefore, notice to withdraw must be given to all the plaintiffs or persons interested. According to that order, the right answer is after notice to all the persons interested. Come to question number 25. Res judicata, section 11. Res judicata does not operate between co-defendants, between co-plaintiffs, against a pro forma defendant, and none of the above. Right answer is against the pro forma defendant. It is basically a general principle of law. Question 26. Attachment before judgment in a suit dismissed in default is what? Revives automatically on the restoration of the suit, does not revive automatically on restoration of suit, may or may not revive depending upon the facts and circumstances of the case, or neither 1 or 2. It does not revive. Option number 2 is the correct answer, and it is mentioned where? Under order 38, rule 11A2 of CPC. Come to question number 27. The Code of Civil Procedure recognizes preliminary decree, final decree, partially preliminary and partially final, or all of the above. The right answer is all of the above, and it is mentioned where? Under section 2, subsection 2 of CPC. Question 28. Which of the following suits is of civil nature? Suits of civil nature is mentioned where? Section 9. Options: suits relating to right to property, relating to right of worship, or for damages of for civil wrong, or all of the above. Right answer is all of the above. Question 29. Which section of CPC declares that the court shall presume upon the production of any of the document purporting to be certified copy of the foreign judgment that such judgment was pronounced by the court of competent jurisdiction unless the contrary appears on the record or is proved? Section 13, 14, 19 or 20. The court shall presume. It is mentioned under section 14 of CPC. Next question, question 30. In a suit for recovery instituted by A against B, despite the summons of suit having been duly served upon B, he did not appear on the date fixed in the summons on 1st March 1993. The court consequently on 1st 393 passed an ex parte order against B and listed the case for 3493 for ex parte evidence of A. Here, B can participate in further proceedings of the case. B can seek setting aside of the ex parte order if he is able to show good cause for his non-appearance. Option 3, both 1 and 2 are correct, or option 4, both 1 and 2 are incorrect. Well, the right answer is both are correct, that B can participate in further proceedings or B can seek setting aside of the ex parte order. Come to next question, question 31. Mark the incorrect statement in relation to order 23 of CPC. At any time after the institution of suit, the plaintiff may withdraw his suit or abandon part of his claim. Or option 2, if the plaintiff withdraws from a suit without the court's permission, he is precluded from instituting a fresh suit against the same defendant in respect of same subject matter. If the court is satisfied that a suit must fail by reason of some formal defect or there are other sufficient grounds, it may allow the withdrawal from the suit. Or option 4, where there are several plaintiffs, the court can allow one of them to withdraw even if the other co-plaintiffs do not consent to such withdrawal. It is option number 4, even if the other complainants do not consent to such withdrawal. It is the correct statement because their consent is necessary, and it is mentioned where? Under order 23, rule 1 of CPC. Question 32. Arrest of a person in execution of a decree has been provided where? Section 53, 54, 56 or 55? The right answer is 55 of CPC, person in execution of a decree. And what is in section 53 of CPC? It is for liability of ancestral property, and 54, partition of estate or separation of the share, and 56 says that no arrest of women in execution of decree for money. Next question, question 33. Preliminary decree can be passed in a suit for what? For partition, for partnership, for possession and mean profit, or all of the above? Well, it is all of the above. And partition decree is mentioned where? Order 20, rule 18. And for partnership is order 20, rule 15. And for possession and mean profit, it's order 20, rule 12. Question 35. In a suit for partition, 3 defendants were set ex parte. Preliminary decree was passed on the application of one of the 3 defendants. The court set aside the decree as against all the defendants. The order of the court is what? Legal, irregular, unjustified or illegal? It is legal. It is basically proviso of order 9, rule 13 CPC. Question 36. After the trial of the suit, the court found that the suit was barred by the principle of res judicata and did not discuss and answer the other issues. The procedure adopted by the court is legal, justified, proper or illegal? Well, it is illegal. Question 37. When a court desires that its decree shall be executed by another court, it shall send to the other court what? A decree and certificate of non-satisfaction, judgment and decree, judgment and execution petition and certificate for non-satisfaction. Should send a decree and certificate of non-satisfaction. Order 21, rule 6 of CPC. Question 38. A court to which the decree has been transferred for execution cannot, while executing order attachment, option 2, execute the decree against the legal representative of the deceased judgment debtor. Option 3, send the decree for execution to another court. Option 4, order execution at the instance of the transferee of the decree. It is option 4, and it is mentioned where? Under section 42, subsection 4 of CPC. Question 39. Under CPC, in which of the following cases the court cannot reject the plaint? Plaint is mentioned where? Under order 7. and rejection of plaint is what? Order 7, Rule 11. See the options. Option 1, where the relief claimed is undervalued and the plaintiff, on being required by the court to correct the valuation within the time to be fixed by the court, fails to do so. Option 2, where the suit appears from the statement in the plaint is to be barred by the law. Option 3, when the plaint is insufficiently stamped and the plaintiff, on being required by the court to supply the requisite stamp paper within the time to be fixed by the court, fails to do so. Or option 4, where the plaintiff discloses the cause of action. The right answer is option 4. Come to question 40. Under CPC, when application for review is dismissed, application for review, order 47, rule 7, dismissed when appeal can be filed against the order, or option 2, no appeal lies, option 3, with the permission of the court appeal can be filed against the order, or none of the above. Where no appeal lies, option 2 is the right answer. 41, the object of oral examination under order 10, rule 2 of CPC is to elucidate the matters in controversy in the suit, to record the evidence, to secure the admission, or none of the above. Well, to elucidate the matters in controversy in the suit. Option 1 is the right answer. Question number 183. A garnishee order is an order prohibiting the judgment debtor from making any payment to the judgment debtor, directing the decree holder to take the payment from the judgment debtor's debtor, or both 1 and 2, or none of the above. It is option number 1, prohibiting the judgment's debtor from making any payments to the judgment debtor. And it is what? Order 21, Rule 46A, garnishee order. Notice to the garnishee.
Next is 26. Does the court have discretion to extend time for filing court fee after the plaint is filed? Yes, it has, under section 149. Next is 34. Garnishee proceedings under the CPC can be instituted to enable attachment of debt shares on other property not in possession of judgment debtor के possession में नहीं है. Attachment of property of which owner is not known. Only for attachment of property which cannot be estimated in terms of money. Only for attachment of share in joint family property. इसका आंसर क्या रहेगा? First, जब JD के पास नहीं है तो JD के पास होंगी तो उसको गार्निशी हम बनाएंगे. He is the garnishee. And where is the provision? Order 21, Rule 46A says notice to garnishee, and 46B says order to garnishee. Alright. Next is 35. The commissioner appointed for recording evidence in civil suit cannot do which one of the following acts under Order 18, Rule 4, CPC. What is Order 18? It is hearing of suit and examination of witnesses. तो क्या लिखा हुआ है 4 में? Record re-examination of witness, decide objection raised during recording of evidence, record remarks regarding the demeanor of the witness while under examination, record the evidence either in writing or mechanically. Rule 4 says recording of evidence. इसका क्या आंसर रहेगा? इसका आंसर रहेगा 2, decide objection raised during the record of evidence. Because इसके भी जो सब रूल 4 है उसमें लिखा हुआ है provided that any objection raised during the recording of evidence before commissioner shall be recorded by him, decided by the court at the stage of arguments. तो जब arguments होंगे उस stage पे इसको decide करेंगे, decide नहीं करेंगे, तो commissioner decide नहीं कर पाएगा. Next is 36. Which one of the following proposition with regard to an interpleader suit is incorrect? इनकरेक्ट कौन सी देखिए? Defendant claim adversely to one another. Yes, ठीक है. ये plaintiff claims no interest in the subject matter in dispute other than the charges or cost. Yes, ये भी ठीक है. Real dispute must be between the plaintiff and no, it is not correct. Plaintiff must be ready to deliver the property to rightful claimant. Yes, it is not correct. Is 3. And where is interpreted suit? It is mentioned in section 88 and order 35. Next is 46. Which of the following proposition is incorrect insofar as the power to permit amendment pleadings under order 6 rule 17 is concerned? देखिए amendment pleading must be allowed at any stage of proceedings before the trial has commenced. देखिए लिखा ना pleading must be allowed. No, it is discretion of the court. Must नहीं है. So this is incorrect. So 1 is the answer. बाकी देखिए amendment which cause prejudice may not be allowed. Yes, it is correct. Basis or cardinal test for deciding whether amendment should not be allowed is real controversy test. Yes. Normally prescribed for deciding correctness and falsity of the case. Yeah, it is correct. So answer is 1. Next is 127. Whether the next friend of lunatic requires permission of the court to file a suit for declaration? Yes, defendant. No specific permission is required. 2 is the answer. लुनेटिक है, दैट इज अ सफिशिएंट नोटिस कि भाई लुनेटिक है, खुद नहीं कर सकता, तो परमिशन की क्या जरूरत है। ऐसे 128 a review petition is maintainable where review applicant has already filed an appeal which is pending. No. Opposite party files an appeal after review was filed. Opposite party files an appeal after review petition was filed. तो देखिए आफ्टर रिव्यू पिटीशन वाज फाइल, तो फाइल तो हो चुकी है ना, वो तो मेंटेनेबल ही रहेगी। फिर नेक्स्ट ऑप्शन देख लेते हैं, फाइल वेयर रिव्यू एप्लीकेंट हैज बीन डिसमिस्ड बाय स्पीकिंग ऑर्डर ऑन मैरिट्स। मैरिट्स हो चुकी हैं तो क्यों करेंगे फिर। फाइलिंग एन अपील बाय एनी साइड इज इमटेरियल। नो, आंसर वुड बी 2। ऑलरेडी फाइल हो चुकी है, पहले आपने रिव्यू पिटीशन फाइल की है और फिर अपोजिट पार्टी ने अपील फाइल कर दी, तो रिव्यू वाली पहली मेंटेनेबल रहेगी। एंड वेयर इट इज मेंशन इन सीपीसी, रिव्यू इज मेंशन इन सेक्शन 114 of CPC and order 47. Next 129, whether a defendant can file an application for disposal of the suit under order 12 rule 6. Yes, defendant can file an application. कब कर सकता है, देखिए order 12 rule 6 में ही लिखा हुआ है कि वो कर सकता है, और वहाँ पर लिखा हुआ है कि on the application of any party, तो any party लिखा है ना, तो defendant भी कर सकता है, फिर any party can file application. 1 is the answer. Next 130, whether a suit dismissed in default can be restored without notice to the defendant or his counsel if the defendant and his counsel was not present on the date of dismissal of the suit in default. Yes. देखिए ये भी एक ट्रिक क्वेश्चन है। कैसे, अब यहाँ पर ये नहीं बताएगा कि जो सूट डिसमिस हुआ है कौन से ऑर्डर, कौन से रूल के अंडर डिसमिस हुआ। देखिए अगर ये ऑर्डर 9 रूल 4 के अंडर डिसमिस हुआ है तो वहाँ पर जो है नोटिस देने की ज़रूरत नहीं है। देखिए क्योंकि यहाँ पर लिखा हुआ ना, डिफेंडेंट एंड काउंसिल वर नॉट प्रेजेंट एट टाइम ऑफ डिसमिसल, मतलब इसका क्या हुआ कि प्लेंटिफ ने डिफॉल्ट किया है और सूट डिसमिस हो गया। लेकिन अगर ऑर्डर 9 और रूल 9 है तो वहाँ पर नीचे लिखा हुआ है सब रूल 2 में कि नोटिस देना पड़ेगा अपोजिट पार्टी को। तो अगर इसके वाला है ये डिसमिसल तो वहाँ पर नोटिस की जरूरत नहीं है, रिस्टोर हो सकता है, क्योंकि दोनों जगह जो है प्लेंटिफ रिस्टोर करवा रहा है, बट रिक्वायरमेंट्स आर डिफरेंट। ऑलराइट, next question number 131, whether judgment debtor can plead satisfaction of decree by payment in cash outside the court. Yes, he can if payment or adjustment is incorporated into a document. So 3 is the answer। और ये कहाँ पर मेंशन किया गया है, ये मेंशन किया गया है ऑर्डर 21 के रूल 1 में ही। Next 132, whether a suit can be compromised without filing application under order 23 rule 3. Yes, if compromise in writing and signed by the parties. ये वहीं पर मेंशन किया गया है ये चीज़ भी। 3 is the answer। 133, a plaintiff can file a second suit on the subject matter of an earlier suit filed by him. तो where an earlier suit was unconditionally withdrawn, कर पाएगा, विड्रॉ कर लिया है अगर। और देखिए यहाँ पर भी लिखा नहीं हुआ कि विद परमिशन है या फिर विदाउट परमिशन है कोर्ट की, तो वी प्रिज्यूम की विदाउट परमिशन है, ठीक है, तो वो तो नहीं कर पाएगा फिर सेकंड सूट फाइल। वेयर द फर्स्ट सूट ऑफ डिसमिस ऑन डिफॉल्ट इन प्रेजेंस ऑफ डिफेंडेंट, अब देखिए यहाँ पर कर दिया ना, डिफेंडेंट की प्रेजेंस में किया सब्जेक्ट टू लॉ ऑफ लिमिटेशन, तो यहाँ पर भी नहीं कर पाएगा। यहाँ ये ऑर्डर 9 रूल 9 वाला आ गया, यहाँ पर सिर्फ क्या हो गया, रिस्टोरेशन होगा। अब क्या है फिर, वेयर द फर्स्ट सूट वाज डिसमिस ऑन मेरिट बट द प्लेंटिफ फील द डिसीजन इज रॉन्ग, तो अपील करनी है वहाँ पर। इसका आंसर क्या रहेगा, नन ऑफ द अबव। 4 इज द आंसर। Next 167, X files a suit for declaration of title and permanent injunction against Y and files an application for temporary injunction under Order 39 Rule 1C CPC. The court dismisses the application of temporary injunction. 2 months later, during the pendency of suit, X again files for temporary injunction again under Order 39 Rule 1, citing new facts and changed circumstances. देखिए यहाँ X जो है suit for declaration of title and permanent injunction लेके आया था, एंड एप्लीकेशन फॉर टेम्परेरी इंजंक्शन उसने बीच में फाइल की, द कोर्ट ने डिसमिस कर दी। 2 महीने बाद फिर से वो दोबारा लेके आया है, तो क्या जो नई आई लिखा ना, साइटिंग न्यू फैक्ट्स, सेकंड एप्लीकेशन के बार बार एडजुडिकाटा होगी, नो, डज नॉट अप्लाई टू इंटरलोक्यूटरी ऑर्डर्स बाय लाइक टेम्परेरी इंजंक्शंस, तो ये है इसका राइट आंसर। 2 इज द आंसर। क्यों, देखिए इसमें लिखा ना, फाइल्स एन एप्लीकेशन फॉर टेम्परेरी इंजंक्शन, इन बिटवीन है ना वो, तो व्हाट इज दैट, इट इज इंटरलोक्यूटरी ऑर्डर। 2 इज द आंसर। Next 168, section 89. What is section 89 of CPC? ADR, alternative dispute resolution. The court shall attempt settlement dispute in all cases in when both parties specifically plead for settlement, at least one party, the court satisfies the possibility of arriving, तो इसका आंसर रहेगा 4, when the court thinks it is a possibility. 4 is the answer. Next 169. A sues B for specific performance of a contract in the plaint. A seek the relief for specific performance. He does not seek any relief in the alternative. The court determines that it cannot order the specific performance of contract. The कोर्ट अवार्ड कंपनसेशन इंस्टेड। अब इतना लंबा थोड़ा लिख दिया, बात इतनी सी कि ए ने सू किया बी को स्पेसिफिक परफॉर्मेंस के लिए, जो कि कोर्ट ने मना कर दिया। उसके लिए कहते हैं कि भाई आप जो है कॉम्पनसेशन ले लो, और उसमें जो है ए ने कोई ऑल्टरनेटिव रिलीफ जो है नहीं मांगा था। कोर्ट ने कहा कि पैसिव परफॉर्मेंस नहीं हो सकती। अब क्या कोर्ट कंपनसेशन दे सकता है? दे सकता है। कंपनसेशन कैन बी अवॉर्डेड ओनली आफ्टर द कोर्ट अलाउज द प्लेन टू बी अमेंडेड। अमेंडमेंट करके लाएगा और कंपनसेशन क्लेम करेगा तभी मिलेगा, अदरवाइज नहीं मिलेगा। विदाउट क्लेमिंग देयर इज नो कंपनसेशन। सो 3 इज द आंसर। और ये कहाँ पर मेंशन किया गया है? ये लिखा हुआ है सेक्शन 21 के सब सेक्शन 5 के प्रोवाइजो में। एंड 21 किसका? स्पेसिफिक रिलीफ एक्ट का। Actually 170, which of the following does not have to be pleaded in application for temporary injunction? Does not have to be pleaded in application temporary mala fide intention of the opposite party। ये लिखने की जरूरत नहीं ना। imperable harm है, ये prima facie case, balance of convenience है। तो यही तीनों चीजें आपको प्रूव करनी है, तो आप जो है टेम्पररी इंजंक्शन मांग सकते हैं। तो इसकी जरूरत नहीं है। 1 is the answer। Where is temporary injunctions? It is mentioned in section 36, 37 of SRA and where is procedure order 39। Next 171, in an application for maintenance, it is not necessary to avert that husband has neglected, refused to maintain his wife, has sufficient means। तो ये तो प्रूव करना ही पड़ेंगे ना। Has treated his wife with cruelty, ये प्रूव करने की जरूरत नहीं है। तो क्रूअल्टी प्रूव करने की जरूरत नहीं है। 3 is the answer। Wife is unable to maintain her, ये भी प्रूव करना पड़ेगा। कहाँ डालेंगे? CRPC में 125 सेक्शन में। Next 172, A, an Indian citizen enter into contact with B, US citizen based in USA. Certain dispute arises under the contract. B files a suit in the matter in civil court, New York. A files counterclaim in the said suit. Subsequently, A files a suit in the same matter in jurisdictional civil court in New Delhi. Is the later court barred from trying the suit? No, because the pendency of foreign suit does not preclude the Indian court to try that suit on the same cause of action. 3 is the answer. And where is stay of suit? Stay of suit is mentioned in section 10 of CPC. Next is 173. In contractual dispute between two parties A and B, A files a suit in Delhi where the cause of action arose. 2 days later, B files a suit in the same matter in Mumbai where A is resident. The pendency of the first suit is not brought to the notice of court in Mumbai. The court pronounced judgment in the second suit before the first suit is decided. Would such decision operator bar on the court in Delhi to try the suit any further? Yes, the principle of res judicata will apply. So 1 is the answer. Conceptual questions. कंसेप्ट क्लियर होना चाहिए आपका रेस जुडिकाटा का। नेक्स्ट 174, ए फाइल सूट अगेंस्ट बी सीकिंग 3 रिलीव्स। द मैटर वाज डिक्रीड इन एज फेवर। द फर्स्ट रिलीफ वाज पार्शियली ग्रांटेड टू ए, डिक्री वाज साइलेंट ऑन अदर 2 रिलीव्स। कैन ए फाइल सेकंड सूट इन द सेम मैटर? नो, द बार ऑफ रेस जुडिकाटा विल अप्लाई। व्हाई? सेक्शन 11 एक्सप्लेनेशन 5 टॉक अबाउट दैट। सो 1 इज द आंसर। Next is 175. The subject matter jurisdiction of civil court extends to all claims civil nature unless the cognizance is expressly or impliedly barred. ये है ऑप्शन नंबर 2। कहाँ प्रोवाइड किया गया है? सेक्शन 9 में ऑफ CPC। नेक्स्ट 178. Someone of a suit cannot be served by, कैसे नहीं कर सकते? सर्विस इन पर्सन टू डिफेंडेंट, सेंडिंग समन टू द रेजिडेंस ऑफ डिफेंडेंट, पब्लिकेशन न्यूज़पेपर। यस, तो क्या नहीं करेंगे? फ्रेंड को दे दिए उसके, और वो फ्रेंड ऐसा निकला, उसको बताया ही नहीं। So 4 is the answer. And where the summons are mentioned in section 27 of CPC। और ऑर्डर कौन सा है? ऑर्डर है 5। नेक्स्ट 179. A suit under order 37. What is 37? It is summary procedure. तो किस पे अप्लाई होता है? हुंडी पे। oral contract claim for general damages under section 73 on हुंडी, वहाँ पर मेंशन किया गया स्पेसिफिकली। 1 is the answer. 185. Issues in a civil suit are framed. कब फ्रेम करेंगे? आफ्टर, जब दोनों, पहले क्या आएगी? प्लेंट, फिर आएगा WS और फिर आएंगे इश्यूज। तो फिर आफ्टर WS इज फाइल्ड। 2 is the answer. And which order talks about framing of issues? Order 14 CPC. Next 186. When defendant is proceeded ex parte after filing WS, the defendant cannot participate in future proceeding. Can participate. The defendant to participate in future must ask for setting aside the ex parte decree. Plaintiff has option to allow defendant to participate. तो इसका आंसर क्या रहेगा? He can participate. Order 9 Rule 7 provides for that, not expressly but impliedly. यहाँ लिखा हुआ है कि where the court has adjourned the hearing and the suit ex parte, the defendant appears and assigns good cause for his previous non-appearance. He may, upon such terms of the court directs as to cost, be heard in answer to suit as if he had appeared on the day fixed for his appearance. ठीक है। Next 187. When an ex parte decree is passed, the defendant would normally ask for setting aside of ex parte decree, by an application under Order 9 Rule 13, Revision Petition 15, by filing an application under Article 227 of India, by filing application under Order 9 Rule 7. तो 913 में 1 is the answer, setting aside expiry decree. Next is question 188. Can a civil court examiner party at first hearing? Yes, they can. Oral hearing का provision कहाँ पर दिया गया है? Order 10 Rule 2 में. 4 is the answer.
Next is question number 5. The court has issued a commission for recording of evidence in a suit by appointing a local commissioner. The counsel for the plaintiff raises objection to certain questions put by the counsel for the defendant to witnesses of the plaintiff in cross-examination. The commissioner, right answer is option number 4, is required to record the said objections and ask the witness to answer the questions so objected to without prejudice to the plaintiff's right to have the said objection decided from the court at the time of final arguments in the suit. And it is mentioned where? Order 18 Rule 4 Sub-Rule 4 of CPC. Okay, and what does Order 18 talks about? It talks about hearing of the suit and examination of witnesses. And Order 14 Rule 4 talks about recording of evidences. And its clause 4 talks about the commissioner may record such remarks as it thinks material respecting the demeanor of the witnesses while under examination, and its proviso is also mentioned there. So right answer is option number 4. Next is question number 6. Putting an exhibit mark on a document, option 1 disentitles either party to the suit from contending that the document is not to be read into evidence. Option 2 disentitles either party from contending at the stage of final arguments that the document should not be read into evidence unless such party had at the time of putting of exhibit mark raised objection to its admission into evidence and such objection was kept open for the decision. Option 3 does not ipso facto amount to admission of the document in evidence, especially if the document is per se not admissible into evidence. Option 4 is final as far as the suit court is concerned of the admission of the document into evidence. Well, this is a general principle in law of evidence, plus Order 13 of CPC talks about it. So according to that, right answer is option number 3, does not ipso facto amount to admission of the document in evidence, especially if the document is per se not admissible into evidence. And what does Order 13 of CPC talks about? It talks about production, impounding and return of documents. Question number 151. A suit was filed and disposed of by the court which had no pecuniary jurisdiction to try it. The judgment and decree became final whether the findings recorded in it operate as res judicata in a subsequent suit between the same parties? Yes. And it is what? Section 11 of CPC, exception 8. It will be operated as res judicata. 152. A sues for possession of Math property as an heir of Mahant. The suit is dismissed on his failure to produce the succession certificate. A files subsequent suit as manager of the Math. The second suit will be barred by res judicata, will not be barred, or a second suit is liable to be stayed, or none of the above. The second suit will not be barred by res judicata. 153. An application for a review of judgment, section 114 of CPC, would lie only when the applicant has accepted the judgment. The applicant gives an undertaking to the court to accept the judgment. An appeal lies against the judgment and has been preferred. Or option 4, an appeal lies against the judgment but has not been preferred. Answer option number 4. Appeal lies against the judgment but has not been preferred. 154. Ramlal and Company, a sole proprietary of Ramlal, files a suit against X for recovery of money. X files a counterclaim in the said suit for recovery of money owed by Shamlal and Company, a sole proprietary of Shamlal, son of Ramlal. The issues will be framed in the suit and counterclaim. Shamlal will be impleaded as plaintiff in the suit. Shamlal will be impleaded as defendant, or the counterclaim will be returned. Right answer is option number 4. Counterclaim will be returned. And it is what? Counterclaim is mentioned in Order 8 Rule 6A of CPC. 155. Limitation for substitution of legal representatives of a judgment debtor in execution proceeding is a substitution of legal representatives. Order 22 CPC. Read with Article 120 of Limitation Act. So the right answer is what? None of the above. Come to next question 156. Non-substitution of legal representatives of either party to the suit who dies between the conclusion of hearing and pronouncement of judgment renders the judgment a nullity, renders the judgment liable to be set aside in appeal, renders the judgment nullity only at the option of other party, or has no consequences. It has no consequences, and it is mentioned under where? Under order 22 rule 6 of CPC. 157. Issues under the CPC means material proposition of the fact affirmed by plaintiff and denied by the defendant, material proposition of fact affirmed by defendant and denied by plaintiff. Option 3, every proposition of a fact and law affirmed by one party and denied by other, or material proposition of fact or law affirmed by one party and denied by the other. Right answer is option number 4, material proposition of a fact or law affirmed by one party and denied by the other. And it is, issues are where? Order 14 rule 1. Question number 158. Service of summons of a civil suit on the defendant thereto can be ordered by publication in the newspaper when the plaintiff is willing to bear the costs thereof. Option 2. The defendant stays outside the territorial jurisdiction of the court. Option 3. The defendant is avoiding service or cannot be served in ordinary way. Or option 4. The plaintiff fails to take steps for service of the defendant. The right answer is option 3. The defendant is avoiding service or cannot be served in ordinary way, and it is mentioned where? Under order 5 rule 20 of CPC. 159. If a party to a suit who has obtained an order to amend in its pleadings fails to amend accordingly, if the party is plaintiff, the suit has to be dismissed, and if the party is defendant, the written statement is to be taken off the record. Option 2, the right to amend has to be closed. Option 3, the right to lead evidence in support of the amendment has to be closed. Option 4, the right to amend has to be closed, but that party can file another application seeking that amendment. Right answer is option number 2, the right to amend has to be closed. Order 6, pleadings rule 18 of CPC. 160. X files a suit against his sister Y seeking partition of properties of their parents. Y in her written statement admits the shares of X and Y in the properties as pleaded by X. The court should do what? Frame issues and direct evidence to be led, direct admission, denial of the documents, pass judgment forthwith, direct the parties to enter into compromise, pass judgment forthwith, and it is order 12 rule 6 of CPC. 161. An order of dismissal in default of a suit for non-appearance of a plaintiff or his advocate is what? Not subject to any of the above. It is not appealable, revisable, or reviewable. It is order number 9 rule 9 of CPC. It is none of the above. 162. A dies leaving 2 sons and 2 daughters. You can read out the whole question. I am coming to the options part. The court will dismiss the suit, stay further proceedings in the suit, frame issues in the suit, and relegate the parties to lead evidence on all the matters in the issue, including the validity of the will. Option 4. Frame issues in the suit and relegate the parties to lead evidence, but no issue will be framed with respect to the will of A, because judgment of the court in earlier suit between the 2 sons is a judgment in rem. Right answer is option number 3. Frame issues in the suit and relegate the parties to lead evidence on all matters in issues, including the validity of the will. 163. Notice under section 80 of CPC is required for filing suit against a public sector undertaking and a statutory body. Option 2. A public 100% of shares of which are held by the government, or against a public officer, both option 1 and 2, or neither option 1 and 2. It is neither of 1 or 2. Why? Because section 80 of CPC notice to an government body is not required. So, and these both are government bodies. So it is not required. 164. For non-compliance of section 80 of the CPC, the suit is to be dismissed on the first day the suit is to be admitted, but summons have to be issued of a date after 2 months. The plaint is to be returned, or costs have to be imposed. Right answer is option number 3. The plaint is to be returned. Question number 165. A, B, C, D and E are jointly and severally liable for rupees 2,53,000 under a decree obtained by F. A obtains a decree of 4 rupees 2 lakh against F singly and applies for execution to the court in which the joint decree is being executed. The court has to. Right answer is option number 1 only. That if F opts to treat his joint decree against A, B, C, D and E as a cross decree, record satisfaction to the extent of rupees 2 lakh of joint decree and for rupees 2,53,000 and proceed with the execution only of the decree in favor of F, remaining 53,000 against A, B, C, D and E. It is order 21 rule 18 and it is basically illustration of that. Illustration D. 166. Wife obtains a decree for restitution of conjugal rights against the husband. The husband fails to comply with the decree. The court in execution will do what? May direct the husband to make periodical payments as may be fixed to be made to the wife and recover the said monies as under the decree for recovery of money. Order 21, Rule 33 of CPC. Question 167. A decree for recovery of money is executable by detention of judgment debtor in civil prison. Right answer option number 2. If the judgment debtor, despite having means to satisfy the decree, has arranged his affairs in such a manner as to defeat and delay the execution of decree. Section 51 of CPC. A decree for recovery of money. Next question 168. B. A bank under a scheme for grant of educational loan to females grants a loan of rupees 2 lakh to A. A fails to repay the loan and B files a suit for recovery thereof. During the pendency of suit, A is married. B does not take any steps within the prescribed time to substitute the maiden name of A with the married name of A in the suit. The suit is decided in favor of B and against A in her maiden name. Now, option 1, the suit abates and decree is a nullity. Option 2, the suit does not abate but the decree against A in her maiden name cannot be executed. Option 3, the decree can be executed against the husband of A also. Option 4, the decree may be executed against A in her married name. Obviously in her married name, and it is mentioned under Order 22, Rule 7 of CPC. Okay. 169. A person who does not have sufficient means to pay the court fees on a suit of recovery of money for which the cause of action has accrued to him cannot file the suit, can file suit by furnishing a bank guarantee, can file suit by furnishing affidavit to pay court fees out of the decretal amount, or option 4, can file the suit by establishing before the court that he is not possessed of sufficient means to pay the court fees. Option number 4, and it is mentioned where? Order number 33 of CPC. Question 170. The civil court can grant injunction without issuing notice to the defendant in all cases or only if the object of granting injunction would be defeated by delay and after recording of the reasons therefore. The answer is option number 2, and it is injunctions, and it is mentioned in the proviso to the Order 39, Rule 3 of CPC. 171. Upon grant of an ex parte injunction, again Order 39, the plaintiff has to comply with the proviso to the Order 39, Rule 3 of CPC by filing an affidavit within how much time? Within 7 days from the date on which injunction is granted, or within 3 days, or option 3, on the day on which the injunction is granted or on the day immediately following that day. Option 3 is the right answer, and it is mentioned in Order 39, Rule 3 only. 172. If after the services of the summon the defendant appears but does not file the written statement within the prescribed time and right to file written statement is closed, then what will the court do? The court has to proceed against the defendant ex parte, or option 2, the court may pronounce the judgment against the defendant without requiring evidence from the plaintiff. Option 3, the court has to necessarily require the plaintiff to prove its case by leading evidence with the defendant having no opportunity to cross-examine the witnesses of the plaintiff, or option 4, the court has to necessarily require the plaintiff to prove its case by leading evidence and provide an opportunity to the defendant to cross-examine the plaintiff and its witness on his defense. Right answer is option 2 only, that the court may pronounce the judgment against the defendant without requiring any evidence from the plaintiff, and it is mentioned under Order 8, Rule 10 of CPC. 173. On service of summons under Rule 2 of 37 of CPC, the defendant has to do what? Within 10 days of the service, and enter an appearance and file in the court an address for service of notice to him. Right answer is option number 1, so no need to read out other options, and it is mentioned under Rule 3 of Order 37. Question 174. In a suit for partition instituted on 5th July 2000, recording of evidences has commenced. An application dated on 9 July 2018 of the plaintiff to amend the plaint lies and shall be allowed if the amendment is necessary for the purpose of determining the real question in controversy between the parties and on such terms as may be just. Or option 2, lies and shall be allowed if the amendments are necessary for the purpose of determining the real question of controversy between the parties and shall not be allowed unless the court comes to the conclusion that in spite of due diligence the plaintiff could not have raised the matter before the commencement of trial. Option 2 is the right answer. Okay, and it is Order 6, Rule 17. Question number 175. In execution of a decree for maintenance, the salary of judgment debtor who is a manager in a bank can be attached to the extent of how much? 2/3. Section 60 of CPC. 176. If due to default of appearance of the plaintiff a suit has been dismissed, then the plaintiff cannot file a new suit for the same claim. Right answer is option number 1 only, and it is mentioned under Order 9, Rule 9 of CPC. 177. Where local limits of jurisdiction of court are uncertain, the place of institution of suit shall be according to Section 18 of CPC. Next is question 178. The rule of constructive res judicata is option A, a product of judicial interpretation, a rule of equity. Option 3, contained expressly in CPC. Option 4, a part of Supreme Court rules. Well, it is contained expressly in CPC, and in CPC where Section 11 talks about res judicata, right? And its explanation 4 talks about constructive res judicata. 179. On default of appearance of the plaintiff on the date fixed for framing of issues in a suit for recovery of 2,90,000, where the defendant has in a written statement admitted a liability in the sum of rupees 1,25,000, the court shall do what? Option 1. Decree the suit against the defendant in the sum of 1,25,000 and dismiss the suit for the recovery of the remaining amount. Correct? Right answer option number 1, and it is what? Order 9, Rule 8 of CPC. Question 180. In a suit, the plaintiff himself wishes to appear as a witness without any permission of the court. He may so appear. Option 1. At any time before evidence of the plaintiff is over. Or option 2. Only before any other witness on the behalf of the plaintiff has been examined. Or option 3. At any time before the evidence of the defendant is over. Or option 4. At any time before the arguments are heard. Right answer? Option number 2. Only before any other witness on behalf of plaintiff has been examined. And it is Order 38, Rule 3A. 181. The amount which a civil judge can order to be paid as compensatory cost in respect of a false vexatious claim or defense shall not exceed how much amount? 3,000. Option 2. 3,000 or the limit of pecuniary jurisdiction of the civil judge, whichever is less. And it is what? Mentioned where? Section 35A of CPC. 182. Under Section 148 of CPC, the court has the power to enlarge time by how much period? Not exceeding 30 days in total. Section 148. Option 1 is the right answer. 183. The caveat under Section 148A of CPC remains in force for a period of how much time? 90 days. Option 1, right answer. Mentioned in 148A only. 184. An argument entered into or a compromise by a next friend or guardian for the suit on behalf of a minor with reference to the suit in which he acts as a next friend or guardian without the leave of the court is what? Voidable against all the parties other than the minor. Option 1 is the right answer and mentioned in Order 32, Rule 7, Sub-Rule 2 of CPC. Question number 185. A fresh suit on same cause of action is not barred. When the plaint in the earlier suit has been rejected under Order 7, Rule 11 of CPC, which is rejection of plaint. Or option 2, the earlier suit has been dismissed owing to the failure to take steps for the service of the defendant. Option 3, the earlier suit has been dismissed owing to neither party appearing when the suit is called for hearing. Option 4, all of the above. Right answer is all of the above. This one is what? Rejected where? Under Rule 11, Order 7, and the earlier suit has been dismissed. Here is Order 9, Rule 4, and this one is Order 9, Rule 4. So all of the above is the right answer. Question number 186. Order 37 of the CPC applies to suit upon the bills of exchange, hundis, promissory notes, and suits in which the plaintiff seeks only to recover a debt or liquidated demand in money payable by the defendant arising on a written contract or an enactment or a guarantee. Option 2, upon the bills of exchange, right, hundis, promissory notes, and suits in which the plaintiff seeks only to recover debt or liquidated demand in money payable by the defendant arising on a written contract or on an enactment or guarantee or for recovery of receivables instituted by assignee of a receivable. Right answer is option number 2. 187. Where the appeal preferred against a decree passed ex parte has been withdrawn, an application under Order 9, Rule 13 of CPC shall lie. Option 1, right answer. 188. Where a suit is withdrawn by the plaintiff under Order 23, Rule 1 of CPC, then any of the defendants thereto can apply to be transposed as plaintiff only if he satisfies the court that the conditions of Order 1, Rule 10 of CPC, and further that the said defendant has a substantial question to be decided against any of the other defendants. Option 3, right answer. Well, this is mentioned where? under Order 23, Rule 1A of CPC. 189. The plaintiff in a suit, onus of all the issues framed wherein is on plaintiff during the cross-examination of the defendant and his witnesses produces document not filed earlier and not executed by the defendant or his witnesses and puts to the defendant and his witnesses the said documents. The said documents are not admitted or acknowledged by the defendant and or his witnesses and are not admitted into evidence though remain on record. It is what? Basically order 13 of CPC, and according to that order, right answer is option number 2, that the plaintiff is not entitled to lead evidence in proof of the said documents which the plaintiff had failed to produce within the prescribed period. Next is question number 136. A suit is dismissed wrongly on the ground of being barred by limitation. The order of dismissal would operate as a res judicata and a bar a subsequent suit on the same cause of action. The above statement is true or false, or it would depend upon the facts or circumstances of each case. Well, the above statement is true. If you see the section 11 of CPC, which talks about res judicata, it is mentioned in the first paragraph only that no court shall try any suit or issue in which the matter has been directly and substantially in issue in the former suit between the same party. It will be barred. Right, now the next question number 137, which is Order 7, Rule 11 of CPC provides for what? Rejection of the plaint, return of plaint, dismissal of suit, or all of the above depending upon the facts of the case. Well, Order 7, which talks about what? Order 7 talks about plaint. Order 7, Rule 11 talks about the rejection of plaint. Right answer is option number 1. And where is the return of plaint mentioned? It is mentioned under this same Order 7, Rule what? 10. There return of plaint is mentioned, and dismissal of suit is not mentioned under Order 7. It is mentioned under Order 9, Rule 2, dismissal of suit. Okay. Now the next question number 138. In a suit for recovery of rupees 25 lakh, the defendant files its written statement and pleads that it does not owe any money to the plaintiff, but in fact it is entitled to recover the sum of rupees 40 lakh from the plaintiff. The defendant, however, does not file a counterclaim. So here counterclaim and a written statement. Can the defendant file the counterclaim as a subsequent stage in the suit or file a fresh suit seeking recovery of 40 lakh rupees? So written statement and counterclaim, which section talks about this? These are mentioned under Order 8. Written statement, counterclaim, set off, all these things are mentioned under Order 8. This thing is mentioned under Order 8, Rule 6A. So the right answer here is the defendant can file both either counterclaim or a suit. Right answer is option number 3. Next is question number 139. A files a suit for partition in the High Court of Delhi against her brother B. B relies upon the will executed by his father bequeathing the entire estate in his favor. Here B has to necessarily file a counterclaim seeking probate of the will, or an issue will be framed as to the genuineness and the validity of the will which B can establish without seeking probate. B has to necessarily file a separate probate petition, or option 4, the suit for partition will be stayed until B obtains a probate. So this thing is basically Order 14 talks about framing of issues, and Order 14, Rule 3 talks about materials from which issues may be framed. So when the content of a document is produced, which is a will, and the party is relying upon that, then in such a case an issue will be framed. So the right answer is option number 2. An issue will be framed as to the genuineness and the validity of the will which B can establish without seeking probate. Now next question is question number 140. In a non-commercial suit, when issues both of the fact and law arise and the court is of the opinion that the suit may be disposed of an issue of law only, the court can frame issues of law and facts and adjudicate the issues of law, and as preliminary issue frame issues of both of a fact and law and decide all the issues together, frame issues only on the issues of law and postpone the settlement of other issues, or both 1 and 3. When there is a issue of fact and law, then the court has the option to choose any, either option number 1 or option number 3. So basically the court can choose that framing the issues of law and facts and adjudicate the issues of law as preliminary issue, or framing issues only on the issues of law and postpone the settlement of other issues. So the right answer is option number 4. Next is question number 141. For the purpose of amendment of pleadings mentioned under Order 6 Rule 17. Order 6 is pleadings and 17 talks about amendment of pleadings. The commencement of trial takes place when the issues are framed, when affidavits in evidence are filed, when the affidavits in evidence are tendered by the witness, or once the cross-examination begins. The right answer is when the issues are framed, and it is mentioned under the same rule. And now next question number 142. X files a suit against Y, which is a partnership of 4 private individuals. X does not issue notice under section 80. Notice mentioned in section 80 of CPC. The suit cannot be dismissed for non-compliance, has to be dismissed for non-compliance, can be dismissed as a discretion of the court if the circumstances require a notice, or such suit plaint will be rejected. Well, the answer is option number 1, cannot be dismissed for non-compliance. Why? Because section 80 says that the notice should be only given to government, and here it is a partnership of 4 individuals. Now come to the next question number 143. An ex parte decree passed by the court A was transferred to court B for execution, which execution proceedings are pending in the court B. Court A sets aside the ex parte decree, and on a rehearing a fresh decree was passed on the same terms. So here, since the new decree is on the same terms as the decree which was set aside, the execution proceeding will continue, or court B can continue to execute the ex parte decree since the order of transfer has not been recalled. Basically, this thing is mentioned under section 42 of CPC, and according to which the execution proceedings in the court B come to an end, and a fresh execution petition would have to be filed of the new decree. Okay, the right answer is option number 4. Now come to the next question number 144. In a commercial suit, the time limit of 120 days for filing a written statement can be extended if the defendant shows adequate reasons for non-filing, can be extended at the discretion of court, cannot be extended under any circumstances, can be extended and with the imposition of heavy costs. Well, earlier I told you that written statement is mentioned where? Under Order 8 Rule 1. Well, this is a special amendment related to commercial suit which came through Commercial Courts Act 2015, where the maximum time limit for filing written statement is 120 days, whereas in general suits it is only 90 days. So the right answer is cannot be extended under any circumstances. It's mentioned there for commercial suits only. Next is question number 145. When the plaintiff appears and the defendant fails to file written statement, again written statement, same order, despite a service, the court shall pronounce judgment under Order 8 Rule 10, may either require the plaintiff to prove its case by leading evidence or pronounce judgment against the defendant depending upon the nature of the case, shall necessarily require the plaintiff to prove its case by leading evidence, direct personal appearance of the defendant. Well, the right answer for is this second option, may either require the plaintiff to prove its case by leading evidence or pronounce judgment against the defendant. And this thing is mentioned where? It is mentioned under Order 9 Rule 6 1, which talks about procedure when the plaintiff appears. Next is question number 146. Where an interim injunction has been granted without notice to the opposite party and the plaintiff fails to comply with the provisions of 39 Rule 3 of CPC, the ex parte injunction lapses on the expiry of the time for compliance. Ex parte injunction would necessarily be liable to be vacated. The court can extend the time for compliance of Order 39 Rule 3 even after the defendant has appeared and filed a written statement, or option 4, the ex parte injunction would be vacated if the non-compliance is prejudicial to the defendant. Then this thing is mentioned under order 39. First of all, what is order 39? It talks about temporary injunctions and interlocutory orders. And order 39 rule 4 says that if the injunction was granted without giving notice to the opposite party, the court shall vacate the injunction unless for the reasons to be recorded it considers that it is not necessary so to do in the interests of justice. So the right answer is option number 2. The ex parte injunction would necessarily be liable to be vacated. Next is question number 147. Issues are framed by the court. Onus of some of the issues is on plaintiff, and of some of the issues the onus is on the defendant. The plaintiff has to file its affidavits in evidence on all issues, or file its affidavits in evidence in affirmative on issues onus whereof is on plaintiff, and the evidence in the negative on the issues onus whereof is on defendant. Order 18 rule 4, which talks about recording of the evidences, and rule 4 says that the plaintiff has to file its affidavits in evidence where the onus is upon the plaintiff. So the right answer for this is option number 3. File its affidavits in evidence in affirmative on the issues where the onus is upon the plaintiff. Now next question, question number 148. X leases Y a property for 10 years from year 2000 to 2010 where the rent is payable on the 10th of every month. Y does not pay any rent from the inception of the lease. X sues in 2011 for the arrears of rent from 2005 to 10 only. Then X can thereafter file a fresh suit for arrears of the rent from the period from 2000 to 2004, or X can amend the plaint to include the recovery of rent from 2000 to 2004, or X claims for arrears of rent would be restricted for a period of 3 years prior to the institution of suit, or option number 4, X not having claimed rent from 2000 to 2004 is barred from claiming the rent for subsequent period. Well, this is mentioned under Article 52 of Limitation Act. Article 52 of Limitation Act. Okay, and according to that article, the right option becomes option number 3. X claims for arrears of rent would be restricted for a period of 3 years prior to the institution of suit. Next is question number 149. In a suit under order 37 CPC, what does the order 37 talks about? This talks about summary suit. The court grants the defendant conditional leave to defend subject to the defendant securing the suit amount by way of a bank guarantee. The defendant fails to furnish the bank guarantee in the prescribed period. The court shall permit the defendant to file written statement, convert the suit in ordinary suit, decree the suit against the defendant, or direct the plaintiff to lead the evidence. Well, the right answer for this is option number 3. Decree the suit against the defendant. Next is question number 150. A supplies goods from Delhi to B at Mumbai under a contract which provides courts in Mumbai would have jurisdiction to deal with disputes arising out of this agreement. A sues B in a court at Delhi for outstanding balance. Now options are: first, the court would not admit the plaint owing to the jurisdiction clause in the contract. The suit would be admitted and only if B raises an objection to jurisdiction at Delhi would the court determine the same. B can prefer an appeal against the order of admission of the suit at in the court at Delhi. B can approach the Delhi High Court for the transfer under section 24 of CPC. According to section 21 of CPC, the suit would be admitted and only if B raises an objection to jurisdiction at Delhi would the court determine the same. And what does section 21 of CPC talks about? Objection to the jurisdiction. The court in which the suit is pending, only that court can decide the matter of objection to jurisdiction. Now next question, question number 151. A is a resident of Delhi, files a suit at Delhi for infringement of trademark by B, a resident of Mumbai, for using the mark at Mumbai. This is what? It is a section 20 of CPC, which talks about other suits to be instituted where the defendants reside or cause of action arises. So right answer for this is option number 4. The court at Delhi has jurisdiction only if A does not have any office at Mumbai. Next is question number 152. A compromise decree. Which section talks about compromise decree or order? It is order number 23. Rule 3 talks about compromise decree. Options are: operates as res judicata between parties to the compromise, does not operate as res judicata, or what? Well, a compromise decree always operates as res judicata between the parties compromising. So, right answer is option number 1. Next question number 153. A decree for permanent injunction restraining the defendant for interfering with the possession of plaintiff, finding the possession of plaintiff to be settled, would operate as res judicata in a suit for partition filed by the defendant for the same party. Res judicata with section 11 of CPC. Would it operate as res judicata or not? The right answer for this is option number 2. No, would not be operated as res judicata in a suit for partition. Now next is question number 154. On the receipt of application for execution of a decree, if the requirement of order 21 rule 11 to 14 have not been complied with, the defects or are not remedied, then the court shall reject the application or allow process of the application for execution, or option 3 or 4. Well, application for execution of a decree, which rule of order 21 talks about it? Rule number 17, application for execution of decree or orders, right? So according to that rule, the court shall reject the application for execution. Right answer is option number 1. Next is question number 155. A holds a decree against B for 5,000 rupees. B holds a decree against A for 3,000 rupees. Both A and B apply for execution of decree to the court which has jurisdiction to execute both the decrees. The court may allow execution of A's decree of rupees 2,000. Right answer is option number 1 only, and it is mentioned where? Order 8 rule 6, which talks about a written statement set of counterclaim, right? So this is set off. Next is question number 156. The period of limitation for an application to restore a suit dismissed for default of appearance is how much days? It is 30 days from the date of dismissal. Option number 1. Period of limitation for application to restore suit dismissed for default of appearance is 30 days from the date of dismissal. Next is question number 157. Where a suit is dismissed for non-appearance by the plaintiff and the defendant is not yet served, or after service of the defendant both parties do not appear, then the plaintiff may bring a fresh suit for the same cause of action, apply for an order to set aside the dismissal, file an appeal, or option 4, either 1 or 2. Well, this is mentioned under order 9 rule 4. And according to that, it is option number 4. Bring a fresh suit for same cause of action and apply for an order to set aside the dismissal. Order 9 rule 4 talks about plaintiff may bring a fresh suit or court may restore suit to file. Next is question number 158. A granted an injunction restraining B from the use of a trademark. A alleged that B had willfully disobeyed the injunction order. B pleaded that he had no knowledge of the injunction order. Evidence was non-conclusive. The court shall order option A, property of B to be attached. Option B, B to be detained in civil prison. B, to compensate A by damages, or option D, none of the above. Again, this is from order 39. The right answer will be D, none of the above. Temporary injunction and interlocutory orders, order 39. Next is question 159. A decree shall not operate as res judicata. Res judicata, again section 11. When judgment is passed by a court which does not have subject jurisdiction, judgment is obtained by fraud if collusion is proved between parties, or all of the above. Right answer is all of the above, option 4. Next is question 160. A filed a suit against 3 defendants. Defendant 1 alleged that there was no cause of action against him under order 7 rule 11D CPC. The plaint to be rejected in whole, rejected in part if the cause of action is not joint and several, proceeded against all the defendants, or none of the above. Well, what does order 7 talks about? Order 7 is about plaint, and rule 11 is what? Rejection of the plaint. Here the right answer is option number 3, proceeded against all the defendants.
Basically, there is a general principle of law that whenever court is considering the plaint on application for rejection, rule 11 which talks about rejection of plaint, and then it should be considered as a whole and not in parts. Therefore, out of 3 defendants, if only one defendant filed for rejection, it cannot be rejected in parts. What will be the answer? It will be proceeded against all the defendants. The right answer will be option number 3.
Next is question 161. In a civil suit coming up for admission, if the court does not have subject jurisdiction to grant relief in the suit, the court cannot grant interim relief under order 39 CPC, or can grant relief under the same order, has to nevertheless issue summons to the suit, has to frame a question of law and refer it to High Court. Well, it is option number 1, cannot grant interim relief under order 39, which is temporary injunctions. It is again the same thing, general principle of law. The court having jurisdiction have the power to decide the case here, right? Next is question number 162. In a suit for permanent injunction against a defendant company, the plaintiff sought an interim injunction. Again, order 39, interim injunction. Both these questions are from same order. Interim injunction restraining the defendant from prosecuting the suit in a foreign court. Options are: a temporary injunction can be granted restraining the foreign court from proceeding with the suit. Temporary injunction restraining the foreign court can be granted if there is a prior pending suit in India, irrespective of where the defendant resides or carry on the business. Or option 3, a temporary injunction restraining the defendant from prosecuting the foreign suit can be granted if the defendant is amenable to the jurisdiction of the court, or all of the above. The right answer is option number 3. Next is question number 163. An order passed under order 39 rule 1. See, there are 3 questions which have been asked from order 39. Rule 1, CPC can be challenged by filing an appeal. Option 1 is the right answer here. Next is question number 164. Under order 9 CPC, where a suit is wholly or partly dismissed under rule 8, the plaintiff shall be precluded from bringing a fresh suit in respect of the same cause of action, or the plaintiff may apply for an order to set the dismissal aside. Or option 3, the plaintiff may bring a fresh suit in the respect of same cause of action. Or option 4, either 1 or 2. Right answer here is option number 4, either 1 or 2. The plaintiff shall be precluded from bringing fresh suit in respect of same cause of action, or the plaintiff may apply for an order to set aside the dismissal. And where this thing is mentioned, it is mentioned under order 9, rule 9.
Next is question number 165. During the pendency of an appeal by the 4 defendants in a suit, one of the appellants dies and no step for substitution of his legal representatives are taken, and the appeal in so far as it relates to the said appellant abates. The 5 respondents apply for dismissal of the entire appeal as abated. Answer whether. So basically this one is also a general principle of law decided in several precedents. The right answer here will be option number 2. The entire appeal abates only if the cause of action against all the defendants was won, and allowing the appeal of the other defendants would lead to inconsistent decrees.
Next is question number 166. The court at the first hearing of the suit. Option 1, can only frame issues. Option 2, may permit cross-examination of either party by the other. Option 3, to elucidate the matter in controversy in the suit, may examine either of the parties, or none of the above. Well, this has been asked from order 10, rule 2(1)(a). What does order 10 talks about? It is examination of the parties, and according to that, right answer is option number 3. To elucidate the matters in controversy in the suit, may examine either of the parties. Next.
So friends, यहाँ पर हमने CPC के सभी क्वेश्चंस को डिस्कस कर लिया है. अगर आपको इसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम लगी हो, कोई सजेशंस हो, कोई कमेंट्स हो, तो आप कमेंट सेक्शन में जाकर भी लिख सकते हैं. एंड अगर आपको वीडियो अच्छी लगी, इसको ज़रूर लाइक कीजिएगा, शेयर कीजिएगा, एंड सब्सक्राइब करना ना भूलिएगा. एंड अपने फ्रेंड्स को भी बताएं कि उन्हें यहाँ पर सारे क्वेश्चन जो अभी तक आए हुए हैं सब्जेक्ट वाइज मिल जाएंगे. सो फ्रेंड्स, थैंक्स वेरी मच फॉर वॉचिंग दिस वीडियो. मिलते हैं अब नेक्स्ट वीडियो में एक नए सब्जेक्ट के साथ. थैंक यू.